Okay, here we go. Hi everybody, it is February 22nd, 2019. I'm Paul Power, and I'm bringing you a channeling by way of Robert Nelson. And we have our new favorite Andromedan with us, Ylo, which is a Americanization of his name, which is too hard for any of us to pronounce.
Ylo.
That's how you do it?
Yes.
One more time.
Ylo.
Yeah, that is tricky. You know, it almost kind of sounds African. Some of the interesting African languages have some hidden consonants and vowels and what have you. So anyway, let's jump right into it. One of our viewers, a Damian Russell from New Mexico, wanted to know if he's Andromedan. And
I remember that question being asked.
yeah.
And the best answer that I am able to give him is that he is more in line with the Pleiadian, as was his experience. However, Pleiadians are related to us.
So Ilo's comment just now makes sense to everybody. We didn't start today's session as we usually do, where we show Bob, making contact and that because for a couple of reasons. One, I think we might stop doing that because you all have seen, the process, and it's a little bit boring. It takes up time that's not necessary to put on tape. So by now you already very much see the situation and what goes on. And so the last session we actually had a few days ago, it didn't get put up on YouTube because I made a fatal mistake of forgetting to turn on the microphone. And the internal microphone for the camera didn't work because I had the external microphone plugged in, which disengages it. So the whole session, much to our chagrin, was not recorded in terms of voice. So we're basically going to do our best to recapitulate that because it was a very interesting session, and I'm going to try to remember the questions I had, and Ilo's going to do the same with the commentaries that he had, and so that's why he answered the question about Damien the way he did, because we actually had that question before, and so he was just remembering what he had already divulged. So with that said, where do you want to start? Do you want to?
We had talked some concerning black holes in different stars as for the production of stargates. And you brought up the statement concerning the life and death of some stars.
That's right.
We draw the line at the end of a red giant when it comes to using stargates. We can use them even on white dwarfs, but there is such an intense...
If I remember, they tend to become unstable at that point?
Well, they can, and it's the pressure gradient. If this is not actually an accurate term, but for your language it's fine with what we're dealing with now.
Mm-hmm. I think I have a sense of what you mean.
There's a pressure gradient of gravity pushing in so badly that it can mess up the lines of transportation, shall we say, and the nodes, the connection nodes especially, between point A and what you call point B.
Well, extreme energies literally can warp time and space. So
of course, and gravity does not necessarily pull half as much as it pushes. So imagine a very finite space. You have a ship trying to come through, and gravity is pushing down worse than ever. From all sides. Imagine what that would do to energies you've set up that
Certainly.
not only make it possible for a wormhole to work, as that's what a Stargate is, a miniature black hole, controlled black hole.
Yeah.
But it also disturbs and disrupts the connection modes that allow you to go from one point to another. So there is a risk that you might end up at your destination, but in one of the nodes being messed up, you might actually end up being reduced to a gelatinous mess.
Mm-hmm.
So we stray away from those. Also, pulsars.
What is the process? If just briefly. So I mean, do your ships? Okay, I'm remembering some of the conversation myself. So I remember some of the processes. You have psychically trained for this purpose.
Yes.
Individuals on board that locate particular aspects of particular stargates in a sun. So the sun isn't like one big stargate. It's a multitude of stargates, right? Do I have that right? It's
Close.
a multitude of potentialities of stargates.
Yes, the potentiality, the opportunistic possibilities, but then there are multiple Stargate possibilities within that. Now,
but I mean, if I remember the way, I just want to cover real quickly, how it was commented on before, and then you can take it from there. But you were saying that these individuals will, psychically zoom in on a Stargate that in a star aspect that somehow that they're able to sense that if the ship aligns itself with this particular Stargate of this particular star, they could end up in this particular place where they want to go. So they just don't, blindly go into these Stargates and hope for the best. They do pretty much know where they're going to, end up.
yes.
Okay.
And again, a lot of it has to do with what, again, you referred to as sacred geometrics, combined with metaphysics, with even applied psychic phenomena.
What we would call a combination of sacred geometry and high technology and higher perception.
You're going to find in your culture that you will reach a specific level beyond where you are now, but you won't be able to move past that until your spiritual insights and understandings come up to match that level.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is some technology you simply will not be able to use otherwise.
Oh, certainly. There's a few memes that are going around social media. Well, they haven't for years, but basically reminding people in a couple of word sentences, you can't tell somebody something that they're not ready to hear.
Well, of sorts. They may hear it, but they won't listen.
Well, yeah, they won't be receptive to it.
You have an old term. We think it's water off of a duck's back.
Right. So let's see. Remembering a few other things, we got into them. This might not be as fluid as conversations we had before, but as I remember some of these things, I do want to get them out because I think they're pretty interesting things we got into. So I might jump around a little bit more, Ylo, but it's okay with me, and I don't think our viewers are going to mind either. So one of the things we got into, I was talking about the alien cultures that were here, and I got you to comment, excuse me, that there are roughly 125 and growing different alien races.
At the time, 124, but yes, it's more now.
That are interacting, with our world, its cultures, and our governments. I, for one, think that's wonderful, especially since there's less than a handful of these that are around that are still causing trouble. right? I mean, basically, there's a couple gray alien variants, and some reptilian Anunnaki variants that are still around that are causing some trouble, right?
That brings up a point. We honored our favored son's command request
Yes.
that we should give the Anunnaki reptilians and the moon a little more time to vacate the premises. They did.
Good.
So we honored his request on not firing against them.
Yes.
In the time that it's taken me to say this sentence, our favored son has cleared your galaxy, and more will be said about this briefly.
Okay. So he's while you're visiting and using his body, I'm going to say for our audience to understand, Bob's consciousness is not just out floating around, doing nothing. A lot of times he's actively pursuing and other things, and staying busy. That's partly why he doesn't remember a lot of what's said sometimes when he comes back from these channelings. I'll usually fill him in with what happened, and as well as just like you guys watching this, he'll sit down and watch this a couple times himself, to see what was said. So he very much likes that. So that's interesting.
So he's keeping up with it.
Oh, most definitely, and I'm doing my best to get the word out. We have a relatively small audience, which you probably know, watching these. The first few of these, there's several hundred views, but then as they go on, they kind of like have been dwindling, and I have actively been reposting and to different message boards, that for people, message boards that deal with alien and Andromedan informations and related topics. I wouldn't just clip this recording onto something that about somebody about making lemonade. That would be considered kind of rude, and I wouldn't want to get in a bad stead with the worldwide service that we're using for having bad manners. So but I I have had some luck with getting the word out, by doing it as I just said that way. I was just distracted because it seemed you were distracted. Did you see somebody?
I was aware of the fact that the one is Michael, we call Lord Michael, has just left. And
he was here.
Going to another location, which will be made known to you, in fact, during this communication.
Okay, cool. So there's something going on.
Something big.
All right, neat. So you hear that, people? Stay tuned. We have some interesting. What do they like to say in the news all the time? Breaking news. Breaking news. Every day there's breaking news. Breaking news. Okay, so let's see.
Something like you're new and improved.
Yeah, well, that's now you're going back a ways. That was a slogan from the '70s on a lot of products. Let's see. So what else did we get into talking about?
You'd be surprised how entertained we have been at times by I Love Lucy.
It's funny you say that. I've always imagined, since I understood, how energy and radio waves and that work, I've always imagined that there's probably a lot of alien races out there that are watching our sitcoms.
There are, and in our case and others like us, your shows would not have reached us.
Well, sure, yeah.
But since we have the wormhole technology that we do know how to use,
Right.
we're able to pull them through
Right.
in pretty much unscathed condition.
Yeah, excellent.
Incident,
You know, Zusher, are you familiar with Zusher?
wait a minute.
Zoosh?
Zeus?
Zoosh. Sometimes he goes by Zoosh or Zusher. Anyway, he is a creator god, like our creator, and they're very good friends. And he started about 20 years ago, allowing himself to be channeled by a very good person that had the ability to channel him, because he's a real heavy energy, and not many people could handle his energy, because it's full blown unadulterated creator energy. And anyway, he helped to pen. Robert Shapiro was the channel, and through Robert Shapiro, Zusher channeled I forget how many books I have from him, but I'm pretty sure it's at least 10 books of information, and
It's impressive.
most of them are under the heading the Explorer Race, and that's what he calls us. And
Your race definitely is.
that's what he calls us. And he says, what made me think of this, and then I'll turn the floor back over to you, is your comment just earlier, a moment ago. He said that one of the things we are going to be known for as a race, and that is our gift, and will be our gift to many other races, is our ability to tell stories, and how effective we are at doing that. And not just stories like history, but stories that are not only truthful, but are heartfelt with messages. That we have literally become masters at doing that. And if you look at all the industries that we have, I think anyway, my opinion, whether it's the car industry or textile industry or whatever, I tell you, there is nothing more state of the art than our film industry. And while not all films are fantastic and the kind you want to send to your mother or have your kids watch, by and large, we make a lot of great films, and have a lot of amazing people that have really developed an amazing talent for being able to take great books that would take you days to read, or even depending on how fast a reader you are, how much time you can devote, weeks to read, and condense it down to a movie that's an hour and a half, an hour and 45, 2.5, 3 hour long movie, or sometimes even multiple movies, but still greatly condense it down, but portray it on a screen as they do. It really is. It's a great talent, and as I've gotten older, I see what he's talking about. I can see how that will be something that we'll be doing.
Throughout most of the universe.
Yeah.
You will be the way showers. You will be the spiritual teachers, and many of you will use fables and stories to do so.
Yeah, and I want to say to everyone out there listening to this, keep that in mind. Because what I'm saying, so many people in this world think that we are just specks of sand on a beach, of the universe, and that's so not true. We are have powers and abilities as far as our imagination go, and we are destined for great things, and there are races out there that have great high technology, as Bob and I have come to find out time and time again, but still don't understand a lot of the heartfelt understanding that people of this world have, and that they have from a first-hand basis, and what it means, and how someone could, for instance, give their life, step in front of danger to save somebody else's life that they care about. There's a lot of races out there that would never cross their mind to do that, for one another. They don't have that, in them. They don't understand it. But when you get to come back to heart, after you've get off the whole technology thing and realize you've got to bring the heart center back up to match the level of technology that you've achieved. I think that'll really be something.
Technology without heart or spirit is actually toxic.
Yes.
And pointless.
Yeah.
There are many races who are very much afraid of your species because of how clever you are, because of your ability to take bits and pieces that don't even seem to match, put them together and make them work.
Yes.
We were talking of stargates, wormholes. Another term your people have is portals.
Mm-hmm.
There are many on Earth, many more in the upper atmosphere and in space around your world, but there are numerous ones on the ground as well, and even a few underground.
In fact, let me say, I've always heard that one of the things that's so intrinsically compelling about our world beyond us, not to pat us on the back, but the fact that our world has more than a usual amount of stargates, which makes it a great place for different races to come and pass through. Is that right?
Yes, because you have such... I'm going to use the word interesting loosely. Crystalline and material makeup of your world, and by crystals I'm not just talking about rock crystals, I'm talking about the crystalline structures of atomic arrangements even.
Is that something the Creator put into action,
well,
millions or billions of years ago? What did that?
Where do you draw the line between the Creator? You see, it's always been happening that way.
So, are you inferring that different races that came here or found a liking to this world for whatever reason said, we're gonna make this place a great way station. So we're gonna put some energies into it more than usual worlds to make it a great place to
partly
like an oasis, if you will.
Mostly they found the potential already here. All they did was tweak it.
Well, Zusher says, one of the things, many things he says that's very interesting, he actually says that when it comes to the history of our planet, that our planet, the Earth itself, is not from this solar system. He says it came from, I think from, oh my gosh, I'm not for certain, but I think he said it came from Andromeda.
Why do you think it's our protectorate?
Oh, see, you were holding back on us. You knew that all along.
Sometimes we assume you know.
Well, I think me and whoever's read these books by Zusher are probably the only people that I've never heard anyone else talk about it.
It is possible even to develop a device that you could hold in your hand. It would be about a foot across, circular, flat.
Yes.
And would in itself be a wormhole, capable of producing one.
Well, I don't think I could fit through a foot and a half square.
Remember, when you go through a wormhole, you become a singularity. And it's not like you're going from point A to a very distant point B. Once you step into the wormhole, you're no longer in point A, you're at point B.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're bigger than the wormhole, how do you start to squeeze through it?
Same way our ships do.
But your ships use technology, right? I mean, they use technology to turn themselves into a singularity.
In cooperation with the singularity.
Huh.
So.
All right, well, I'll take your word for it. I'll take your word for it.
While we've been talking, in fact, he's cycling around now to come back into this galaxy.
Who?
Our favorite sun has destroyed a central, your term would be demonic figure and its numerous connections.
Okay.
And as this is happening, our starcraft, when we recently had over the moon,
Yeah.
is now next to your Earth and taking aim at a ship of what you have termed lately Cabal types.
Excellent.
Now their protections are down because of what our favorite sun did.
Their shields have been damaged.
Well, their ability to generate them in a way that could stop what we're going to do to them has been damaged.
Excellent.
The power source they were using has been killed.
Nice.
By our favorite sun. And as we speak, another thing we find, another quality we find amazing with humans is your courage, your bravery. You have troops who are even now invading location I will not give at this time for their safety.
Sure.
And Michael is going there with them.
Are these troops in StarCraft or troops on the ground somewhere?
On the ground.
Wow, okay.
And when it's all said and done and those troops remaining alive leave, the ones they're going up against, there won't be anything or anyone left alive.
Excellent. Well, I'm not gonna. I'm getting all kinds of ideas, but I'll keep them to myself until later.
You're good at that.
Yeah. Next time we'll maybe talk about that.
We'll see.
Well, you know I love hearing this kind of information.
Now, another aspect of I'm going to use the term secret wars. Not just so much about your country. People point at your country, the United States of America, and they talk about how dark and evil that the United States can be and has become in some ways. The real pressure behind that has been from the British Empire, which still exists. Much of what is happening that has helped to bring you to a new low is coming from the banking aspect, which is not located in your country.
Right. No, it's like...
it's located in Britain. With fingers in other locations, of course.
Belgium and... right, Belgium is a big center. Switzerland.
Switzerland.
Yeah.
However, there is an effort going on within these secret wars to round up individuals who really should be, as you would put it, behind bars.
Yeah. Well, as of Christmas, there were 70,000 indictments that reporters that were bold enough to report on it said, you know, most of these indictments, sealed indictments, had to do with, you know, people, you know, that have dark activities, whether it's you know, drug running, or a lot of them involved with satanic child you know, pedo rings, you know, slavery, human slavery, you know, using and torturing children, and there's a whole underground market where they, you know when there's, I'm not going to get into it, but when there's calamities around the world, they use as a way to be able to go in and steal even more people, and they